Hello and welcome to another episode of Nutricosmetics 2030 show, and for this one I have a special treat for you. We took a part of our yearly interview with the CEO of TOSLA Nutricosmetics, Primož Artač, where we discuss the beauty industry, the nutricosmetics industry, and how TOSLA is playing a part in it. So without further ado, this is my conversation with Primož Artač. We see that, for instance, in the beauty industry, in the cosmetics industry, the market is very saturated. There's a lot of brands that basically cannot compete anymore. There's a lot of bankruptcies and a lot of closures. So more or less, there is a big need of innovation all the time, coming up with new ideas, new products, like to kind of like be able to compete. But there's also another wave, a new wave of companies. We can also call them like kind of a hybrids between cosmetics and supplements. So basically introducing Nutricosmetics on top of their topical cosmetics lines. And we see that here actually the growth that they are experiencing, not just on the supplement part of the portfolio, but across the entire portfolio is very, very, very big.
Well, I have my views on the growth in the industry. I think it's basically multifactored. We cannot just look at it from one direction. Basically, in a way, the population is getting older. Simultaneously, they need to work longer. There's a longevity also issue that is being raised. Mm-hmm. Then there is this holistic view on beauty. Then this need to supplement, and the awareness of supplementation. So I wouldn't say that it's going only from one direction. And when you said that the brands are hurting, I think that the ones that are hurting, they still have this mentality of traditional cosmetic companies. Mm-hmm. I think that they have the problem. They don't understand that their consumer just is not up to putting 7 or 9 different products on their faces. Mm-hmm. They want to have a more wholesome, more holistic approach to their body. So incoming more or less is Nutricosmetics. But I believe, and tell me if you agree, we are probably still at the very beginning of the adoption curve, right? There are just a couple of, let's say, innovators. I call them the hybrid model companies before that are adopting this kind of products. But they are serious companies, and now they are like getting like a big slice of the market already, right? Yeah, well, when you say the adoption, I think that when it comes to a consumer, there is a consumer need. Mm-hmm. And the need is big enough. Just the delivery is not the right one. Mm-hmm. And I think that as soon as you introduce a beauty supplement, people are acceptable to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe the bigger problem is that the companies that should do this, because in a way you already have food companies that are doing it, but you don't have beauty companies that are doing it. And I can relate to their concerns, and I can relate to their mentality, and they're far, far away from the supplement business. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to enter. But those that can cope internally with this stuff, those are the winners. Mm-hmm. Like we notice, because we usually we do once a year this Nutricosmetic map, mm-hmm. and we notice 40% growth in the number of new brands on this map. Mm-hmm. But again, look at it. What's interesting, I think that with these we could say that there are like 10,000, 20,000 brands out there in the cosmetic industry. Mm-hmm. But we still have only 600 and something brands in Nutricosmetics industry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you see how we can expand,
Yeah.
and the adaptation should actually come from the right industry,
Yeah.
not from the consumer. Consumer is already, here,
It's
and he
already
wants
there.
to
And
have it.
Yeah, the need is there.
Yeah.
So when you say like 20,000 compared to 600, and probably the number of companies, so among those 600, there are a lot of companies who are supplement first or supplement only. So basically, this combination of topical and Nutricosmetics, it's like when we see the number of those companies, probably like even lower. It's probably like very low at the beginning. And this is what I meant before. Yeah, the adoption curve, not among the consumers, but among the companies who are bringing this to the market.
Well, I would say that it's topical and ingestible. This combination is great because if you're already a topical brand, you already have a consumer, you already have the data, so it's much easier to go into the ingestible part of the business. While if you're an ingestible company, starting from scratch, which is the case because there is no old traditional ingestible beauty company, it's quite harder to get the data. And what I notice is that the one that has the data, the one that has the consumer already, he's the king, but the problem is that they don't realize the potential of that consumer because they still see it through this paradigm of a cosmetic company. So I sell him once in 3 months and I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
While you can easily like triple or at least double the revenue on the same consumer.
Yeah, and as we said at the beginning, these are really the products that are sold every month or even like every 20 days. Basically, what we saw with existing clients, which some of them, of course, are more like supplement companies, some are those hybrids. But what was very interesting for me is that the cosmetics companies selling topical cosmetics, when they introduced supplements into their portfolios, there was this existing permission, if I may say, from the consumer, and they adopted it very, very quickly. And also what they experienced was the growth across their entire portfolio. So even the topical cosmetics grew because they added supplements.
Well, with beauty supplements, first of all, the consumer sees or feels the result. And I think this is important. It's a completely new sense. It's a taste.
Yeah.
It's very intimate. So I guess that it boosts the confidence in the brand also.
Yeah, and maybe also gives it like a little bit this like more holistic feel, like taking care of like all sides of the beauty routine.
But if I may just add, we speak a lot about holistic and everything, but also the fact that let's say a cream, you have it in your bedroom, you have it in your living room, and now you have something in your kitchen. So you take a little bit more of his attention in his whole apartment or house. I guess this is also important.
A little bit more of the visual cues that remind you of your routines. Here, I would also like to go a little bit more into the format. So bring it a little bit more to TOSLA. So we see that the Nutricosmetics category or the supplement category in beauty is growing nicely, but what's also growing is the liquid format inside the Nutricosmetics category. Like TOSLA is maybe like responsible for that because like we are also like pushing this very, very hard. But can you talk a little bit about the growth of the liquid format in the category?
Yeah, well, what surprisingly, and I'll go back to this Nutricosmetic map, we added roughly 160 new brands to the map, and only 16 of them were liquid. But what's interesting that out of those liquid companies, all of them have grown very quickly to medium or also relative to our side to big size. While the other companies that added other formats are still very small, or this other format when you look at all of their SKUs, it's very insignificant. With the liquid, which is also interesting, I'm talking now in case of one company that also became a NASDAQ company. They have, I would say, about 100 and something SKUs, and liquid over a span of 2 years became a very significant product. I could say roughly 20% of their revenue, which is a lot. So the potential of this format is unbelievable, but it's interesting how the adaptation by the companies is still relatively small to the compared to the other formats.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like from the consumer side, it's adopted more. And probably what I like, the idea I got in my head right now is that, for instance, the company that you talked about is a beauty company, is a cosmetic company. So maybe the liquid format, it's basically it's closer to the look and feel of the beauty industry. So basically, if you as a beauty company are a little bit afraid of supplements, liquid can be a format that's way closer to your existing thinking or like needs.
If we go back to this company, it's interesting because they started actually with the powder, and they have gummies, and they added liquid. And they were expecting that basically liquid will be about 20% of their supplement sales. The majority will be powder, and gummies will be, I would say, let's say again, maybe 10 to 20%. And when you look at this, I see that they were actually driven by the data from, let's say, a similar map that we did, because also when you look at it, there's like 80% of the brands, they have powder. Like 10% have liquids and 10% are other. But it ended up that in their portfolio, liquid is actually above 80% in sales of supplements compared to the powder. So it in a way makes me realize that all of these professionals, they're not listening to their consumer. And that's, I don't know, is it frightening? Or is it just
it's very interesting because like oftentimes we look at supplements from a science perspective, from we do clinical studies and all that, but maybe sometimes we forget to actually listen to the client and not even to the client, but listen or see the market data. And here, like the liquid forward format definitely has like some kind of an upper hand when we look at market data and the growth and like all the things that you talked until now.
Yeah, it's look, for me personally, if I take a powder or supplement, I would mix it maybe for 2 weeks. But do I really want to put it in coffee?
Yeah.
Every day. Why would I do that? Okay, maybe I will put it in a smoothie, but I don't drink smoothie every day. I also don't drink sugary drinks, so I will not put it in a juice. But when I have it in a liquid form, it's very convenient. I open it up, I take a spoon of it, and that's it.
Yeah, it's this really. When we were really studying how to explain the liquids, we came up with this. It's basically the perfect format that helps you build good habits, and helps you like really like make this a part of your daily routine. So I imagine there are no plans to add different formats at TOSLA. So let's say TOSLA is more or less doubling down on liquids, not adding, for instance, like capacity to produce powder supplements or something like that.
We actually dealt with this question last year, and it's there's a lot of capacity for the powder and the capsules and the gummies, and I don't see that we could add value to this. We are still foremost a company that gives good taste and good smell to a supplement. and liquid form we find it challenging, but also most convenient for the consumer. So no, I don't think we will go into that direction. And it's also something that we speak about it with our clients, and mostly we would happily redirect them to other manufacturers.
So you mentioned like we are the company who puts a really big emphasis on taste, and yeah, this really goes in parallel with these three pillars of the product philosophy, which is palatability, simplicity, and validation. So this was really developed hand in hand with the liquid format, and as you said, probably this is really the format, and built on those three pillars, and this is really the closest to a thing that would help you really build this, what you were talking about, like this really good habits. And this is basically what we call that the products are designed for repeat buys, right?
Yeah, correct. And also if I go back, there are like 8 years of technological knowledge that we assembled in the company. And going now into something different would just take us additional 8 years to come there. And I don't think that this is something we want to do. Plus, with all of the stuff that is opening up to us, all of the researches is done connected to the values technology, plus all that is done with the clinical studies. We have so much that we can still add to this industry. Yeah. And later on, maybe something will change, but currently I don't see it.
So, Primož, it's always a pleasure, these conversations that we have every year. So this was 2023, and I hope 2024 is going to be an even better conversation than this one. Thank you.
I also enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for coming back and hosting it.
It's a pleasure.
Hope to see you next year.
Of course. I promise.